Howdy, folks. I'm Dumpster Fire train conductor Brian.
And I'm 1 second.
And you're 1 second?
You're like, wait, 1 second. I don't know. I'm Amber.
And here's some smoldering, burning, train fire, dumpster fire Reddit. We got some really dumpstery fiery stories for you today, if you couldn't tell. All right, folks. Our first horrifying stop on this ride is titled, "Am I a jerk for thinking that my friend was faking her illness when she collapsed?" This past April, I, a 19-year-old male, went hiking on a trail with two other guys, both 19-year-old males, and a girl named Angela, a 19-year-old female. We're all second-year students at the same college, and we've all actually gone through high school together, so we're super close. It's important to note that Angela has a heart condition that flares up at times. With that being said, she has a history of faking her symptoms, albeit rarely, in order to get out of trouble. Once or twice during high school, she would cry wolf and pretend to be sick in order to get out of writing quizzes or tests. So anyways, the four of us were hiking and Angie started complaining that it was getting hard to breathe and her chest was hurting. It didn't take long before she collapsed on the ground, crying and begging us to call 911. For the first minute or two, the three of us guys were going on like, haha, very funny, and then complimenting Angie on her acting skills. We joked about which one of us would have the privilege of ripping open her shirt and touching her chest while giving her CPR. She continued to stay on the ground and crying and freaking out and told us that I'm going to die. So after making light of the situation, we quickly realized that this was real. I called 911 while the two other guys carried Angela and we raced to the parking lot. We met with her at the hospital and she was simultaneously shell-shocked and angry at us, rather than being grateful that we saved her life. We asked how she was doing and she immediately went on this tirade about how close she was to dying, and how if she ever asks us to call 911, we need to drop everything and call 911. A few nights after the incident, I Facebooked her and told her about how genuinely sorry I and the other two were for not taking her seriously at first, and she replied simply with, "Of course you are. Are we the jerks? Can anyone see why we acted the way we did?
No.
It's been a month, and she's still mad at us for some reason." Alright, folks. Well, jerk? Not the jerk?
OP, you are a huge, enormous jerk. Okay, first of all, there is basically no circumstance under which it is okay to joke about sexually assaulting people.
Yeah.
Secondly, even if someone has a history of faking things, if there is a chance they are dying, treat the situation like they're dying. You do not want to gamble in that case.
Certainly. And I really do question whether or not she was faking her illness here. Like,
Right.
Did he confront her afterwards and be like, "Oh, hey, were you faking to get out of your quiz?"
Yeah.
Because having, maybe she has anxiety that's triggered during exams or something like that, and
Yeah.
it makes her heart race, and if she already has a heart condition, it can aggravate or inflame things.
That's the same thing I was thinking. Like, as someone who has anxiety, your heart, but I have a typically functioning heart, but you will feel it racing. And if you already have a heart condition, like, it may just be correlated with the tests, and they assumed, oh, clearly she's faking it because of the correlation.
So you should never treat someone who's dying like it's a joke, and you shouldn't. It's a joke about sexually assaulting people. That's not funny. It really is not funny. There was no punchline about it other than, "Hey, we're going to sexually assault you while resuscitating you," and that's really not good. And you have to understand how horrible that is, and really that just is just not good.
Yeah, like, what? I just can't even fathom what would possess someone to see someone who's like on the ground crying and be like, "Oh, hey, I can't wait to rip open your shirt." Like, that is just so disgusting. There's no universe in which that is okay.
Yeah. So anyhow, take care, and I hope that you've taken this as a learning experience and grow up a lot.
And good luck with Angela. Hopefully you find better friends, because these men are not your friends.
And Stormy Weathers 321 says, "You're the jerk. Come on. She was on the ground crying and begging for help, and you were joking about touching her? How could you not be the jerks?" And Visible Steak 7492 says, "You're the jerk. And that girl needs to get better friends ASAP." FR Tuip says, "Okay, so even if you all thought that she was faking, how is joking about sexually assaulting her okay in any sense? You're the jerk. Obviously disgusting. I hope Angela gets better friends." Seems pretty universal. All right, folks, and our next stop on this dumpster fire, which this one isn't as bad, but I mean, like, it's still bad. It's really just hard to top the first dumpster fire. I mean, that's just really what it boils down to. Like, how do you even beat that? Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for asking my girlfriend to stop taking creatine?" I'm a 30-year-old male, and my girlfriend Stacy is a 29-year-old female, and she's going through some kind of almost 30s crisis. She's suddenly becoming obsessed with being healthy, started working out until a few months ago she was regularly going in for walks and sometimes bike rides, but to avoid sports in general, now she hits the gym at least once per week and started running. All in all, the change is great, and she's become interested in cooking our meals, and they're more tasty and diverse than before. And she's lost some weight, where she used to be somewhat plump. So, all in all, I encourage this change. The problem is this: she also has gained a lot of muscle, and slowly is starting to look unattractive. In my opinion, a woman or girl should look somewhat soft and doesn't need to be particularly toned. I mentioned it to Stacy, and she told me that she feels more attractive this way. Alright, her choice. But then I learned that she's gaining muscle not only because of working out, but she also takes creatine to fasten this process. I got a bit upset, and I told her that I didn't want to date a culturalist, as I find too much muscle on a woman appalling. I told her that while I support her wanting to be more healthy, I think that she went overboard taking supplements to gain muscle. She called me an insecure jerk, and she suggested that maybe I should take better care of myself instead of judging her. I'm rather fit. I may not enjoy working out, but I'm not overweight too, so I think that she only wanted to make me feel bad. Since then, she's mostly ignoring me. She is also still working out and taking creatine. I only expressed my preferences. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yes, you're the jerk. Reading this letter, like, the one thing I heard over again was me.
This isn't attractive to me. Why is she not doing the more stuff for me?
Well, yeah, like, oh, well, she's getting fit, which is good because she's making me food and she looks hotter to me. But now she's putting on muscles. Like, nowhere in this is like, I want her to be healthy and I want her to live a good, happy life. It's, I just want her to fit my narrow definition of attractiveness, which is not plump and not muscular.
This is certainly a him problem and not a her problem. He's painting this as though she's going through some kind of crisis.
Right.
Whereas being healthy isn't a crisis?
Well, I know. She's like going to the gym at least once a week and running and making food. And it's like, those are just typical healthy lifestyle choices people will make, and not some kind of grand, oh my goodness, my life is falling apart because I'm 30.
He really just seems like he has a very, like you said, narrow definition of what's attractive, and he wants to basically confine her into this one little tiny box and be like, yo, you need to suit my wishes.
Yeah, and so honestly, I think that she should just dump him. She can do better. There are plenty of men who like muscular women.
No, I think, being fit is great, and there's nothing wrong with being fit. I could understand his concern if she was taking steroids and whatnot, and that might be an actual concern at that point in time. Be like, oh, maybe you should lay off the juice and not juice up, right? And I mean, that's a concern for a lot of people, is like these steroids aren't good for people, but she's just taking a amino acid that's helping her build muscle.
Well, and like you can get that from eating foods too, like seafood and whatnot. So it's not like it's some strange substance. It's a naturally occurring thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that he just needs to grow up. That's 2 growing up for today. Anyhow, take care and good luck to your girlfriend on her fitness journey. Am I a jerk for asking my parents to pay for my vow renewal if they pay for my sister's second wedding? I'm a 37-year-old female, and my sister is a 40-year-old female, and she's having a second wedding this upcoming summer. Her first wedding was nearly 15 years ago, as she married her college boyfriend when she was 25, and they divorced 5 years later. My sister didn't talk at the time about why the marriage ended, but it came out that she was a lesbian a number of years later. She began dating her current partner 5 years ago. She is lovely and seems like a great match for my sister. I'm genuinely happy for them and I wish them the best. But this is where the conflict comes in. As soon as my sister announced that she and her partner were getting legally married, our parents jumped on the opportunity to plan and pay for this wedding. My sister and her partner can more than easily pay for it, but my parents insist on paying for it for the principle of the matter. I believe this insistence is largely a way for them to try and make up to my sister how they handled her sexuality in the past. My parents have become far more liberal in recent years, but were heavily involved in the church when we were growing up. I didn't know this at the time, but my parents took my sister to some conversion type therapy program when she first tried to come out to them as a teenager. They now feel bad about this and are trying to make it up to her. Despite this, I think that it's unfair that my sister is getting a second wedding paid for when I've only gotten one. I tried to bring this up to my parents by asking if they would pay for my husband and I's vow renewal to make it even, and they got mad at me and said that I was being ridiculous and selfish at a time that should be about my sister. Am I the jerk for asking my parents to pay for a vow renewal to make things even between me and my sister? Alright folks, what do you think?
Yes, you're the jerk. And once again, all I hear is me, me, me. Like, okay, OP, maybe if you go to torture camp, then, and have to go through a divorce and get remarried, then you can talk about this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what your sister went through is actually pretty horrific. From what I understand about some of these conversion camps, they often abuse the people that are in them, and it's just not a very good situation.
Right, like even if they're not physically, some are physically abusive, but even if they're not, there's a lot of psychological damage and trauma that happens in these places.
And so I think that with your parents, they're feeling bad about sending her away to somewhere that may have very well hurt her, and she may have expressed that in the past. And she had embodied some of this stuff with her first marriage, and the reason why her first marriage didn't even work out is because of your parents' original actions, right? Like, It was never bound to work out. Like, she had tried doing something that just wasn't going to work for her because of the decision that your parents made.
Yeah, she was trying to be the person that they wanted her to be, and in their ideology that they tried forcing on her, that this can't force on her, and it just wasn't who she was. And what you should be grateful for is that you have a happy marriage, presumably, like you're having a vow renewal, so you have a happy marriage, and that you haven't been tortured for your sexuality.
So, and I mean, I certainly think that I understand why they feel a little jealous, because they are getting, it does seem like to some degree like, oh, they're getting a second ceremony paid for versus me, I've only had one ceremony paid for.
OP, it sounds like, has a sweet deal. She has a partner she likes, been married to for a while. She's upset because I don't get a second party on my parents' dime. But again, it's not the same situation.
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly feel that OP isn't necessarily handling this in the most healthy or way that she could, and certainly I understand why she feels maybe slightly slighted, but I think it's coming from a place of not really seeing things from her sister's eyes. And anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber's got a joke.
Why do magicians do so well in school?
I know why magicians do so well in school. I have taught a class or two of magicians, believe it or not. You might think that, Brian, why would you teach magicians tricks? Well, here's the thing. While I might be a muggle, I do know a couple tricks up my sleeve. And so, when you teach a class of wizards, though, you have to be very, very careful because they know magic. And while I clearly don't know magic, magic is a very powerful tool, and it lets you cheat. And wizards, believe it or not, are not the most honest people when they have magic at their disposal that can let them cheat. And so that's why. It's just not a good situation. It's rampant cheating involved in these magic universities. I'm telling you, not good.
Magicians do so well in school because they're good at trick questions.
Oh, well, I mean, Certainly, they were very good at trick questions. I'll grant them that, right? Not saying they weren't. Very good. Some of them are very lateral, but mostly cheaters. I got my eye on you, wizards. And I have Mega Mint. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday! We made it. We made it to the weekend. Congratulations. I will shake your hand now. It's an air shake. We did it. Amber, we need some kind of moral guidance today. And please, please, Amber, have it involve Bernard the Unhinged.
If you ever find yourself in a position like OP from Story 1, don't do what OP did, first of all because it's absolutely wrong and disgusting, but secondly for your own safety because you never know when Bernard the Unhinged will show up to teach you a lesson.
Bernard the Unhinged is very unhinged. I don't support his methods at all. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Remember, Bernard the Unhinged has toppled entire kingdoms. I'm a 33. Should just roll with it. Who cares if we add 3 years onto your life? You deserve it. I take away 3 of your years of life and give them to me. This is how I will remain youthful forever.
Can I have yours too?
Yes.